Thank you. As we gather here, everyone's getting spread out. I think there's a bit of excitement here in the air in City Hall Plaza today. I want to thank everyone for being here today. On City Hall Plaza, the People's Plaza, I want to start by thanking all of the Bostonians who demonstrated last week and celebrated yesterday in a peaceful and safe manner. As you saw, there was demonstrations and more celebrations all across Boston yesterday in different neighborhoods and all across our country. But here in Boston, I want to make a special mention to our Boston Police Department and all of our first responders for their incredible work keeping people safe over the last, and we didn't have to keep people safe, but keeping people safe over the last 4 or 5 days here in the city. We're here with a number of elected officials, and as we go through, we're going to have City Council President Kim Janey talk a little bit about this election. She'll introduce the council. We also have the chair of the Boston delegation at the State House, China Tyler, who can introduce the legislative delegation. We're going to be joined by Sheriff Steve Tompkins from Suffolk County Sheriff, and also District Attorney Rachel Rawlings is on her way. I believe we have, I already said, Treasurer Goldberg and some other folks, and we'll get everyone introduced that's here with us today. I want to thank all of the poll workers, and I think I can collectively speak on behalf of all of us. We want to thank all of the poll workers who did some amazing work and the volunteers here in Boston, across the state, and across the country, quite honestly. Under very challenging circumstances, they made it possible for the American people to speak and for democracy to prevail. So I want to thank all the workers in all of those counties that we're very familiar with today after watching it for the last 5 days. Their work continues and must be completed as we move forward here. So whatever support we can give them, we will give it them. But we're here to mark a historic moment for our country and our city. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have earned the majority of both electoral college and popular votes. They will be our next president and vice president of the United States of America. I want to congratulate President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris, and I offer them all of my support and partnership as they prepare to take on this sacred responsibility. And I think I can speak for everyone behind me. We all support them, and we will all be in their corner in whatever they need. I believe their election is good for Boston and is certainly good for America. It's not just because the residents of Boston voted overwhelmingly in their favor, which they did. It's also because they understand who we are and the challenges that we face here as a city. They are dedicated to meeting those challenges side by side with us as partners. President-elect Biden has been in Boston many, many, many times. He understands what makes Boston strong, and his plan. He's working this week. You heard yesterday he's going to put out a task force to start to address the coronavirus, defeat the coronavirus, and build back a better economy that works for everyone, that match our priorities here in the city of Boston. Vice President-elect Harris, as Attorney General and as Senator, has fought for justice and fairness for working families, just like the residents of Boston. She's also a path breaker and a role model. She's the first woman, the first Black American, the first Indian American, the first Asian American to serve as Vice President of the United States of America. And like so many other Bostonians, she is a child of immigrant parents. She's going to expand the dreams of many young people here in our city. I look forward with great optimism to a Biden-Harris administration. It will start a new chapter for Boston and all of America's cities as we keep working keeping our residents safe and building a better and more inclusive nation than ever before. As the President-elect said, when the election is finalized, it is time to move beyond partisan division and come together as Americans to meet the challenges before us. I believe Boston is the leader in this movement. We are diverse like America, and we have welcomed and celebrated that diversity and show how to make it stronger. We have a proven track record of acting together as one Boston and taking on the toughest challenges. But the challenges of today are as hard as any that we face. We've said for months on end, there is so much at stake in this election. Today, that means something else. It means there is so much work to do after this election. We have work to do to defeat COVID-19. We have to turn this upward trend around, contain the spread of the virus, and protect the most vulnerable. We know from science and we know from experience that we can only do it by working together. Taking precautions and getting tested, tackling the health inequities that we've experienced, supporting our vulnerable communities. That's the work we'll continue to do through incredible partnerships we've built with the Boston Resiliency Fund and so many other partnerships that we've had here in the city. We have to do it in housing. Despite the pandemic, this year we are setting new records for building and preserving affordable housing in our city. We have more work to do to be a city where every family can have housing security or invest in their own home. And we have 4 years of federal divestment to overcome. But when the Trump administration pulled down a fair housing rule, we upheld it here in Boston. The city council and myself, we got to work and we passed ordinances to protect people in their homes, to make sure they stay in their homes. And now we are going further, working together to become the first city to write fair housing protections into our zoning code. Our climate change and environment, we have a city to protect and a planet to save. We all know the clock is ticking. We've led as a city, but cities can't do it alone. With a partner in Washington, we're going to be able to take bolder action. We're going to be able to work with our communities across our region and across this great country. We're going to be acting through the U.S. Climate Mayors, a network of cities that's already a lead and leading in the national movement. We can do this if we continue to work together. On infrastructure, cities and states have to be shoulder to shoulder to burden left by Washington's inaction for too long. This administration in Washington couldn't get an infrastructure package through. We need infrastructure for our bus lanes and bike lanes, for our bridges, for our pedestrian squares, for our sidewalks. We need bolder investments in public transportation. We need more infrastructure that is safe, resilient, and efficient. And we need an infrastructure that creates new jobs. We also have work to do on the economic issues, like child care. Many of the people behind me here today are fighting every day to fund child care, to make sure that our providers continue to be able to stay open. We need to work on more funding and working on a program regarding pre-kindergarten, job training, small businesses, affordable colleges. It's an infrastructure opportunity. We've built a policy framework to make that progress possible, but we can only do it together. And a Biden-Harris administration can help us there. Hand in hand with these goals is the work we must do to make all progress possible. The work ending systemic racism. We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. We cannot afford to leave anyone out. There is no unity without equity. Later this morning, there's going to be a celebration right here, right where we're standing, of Black lives here at City Hall Plaza, led by community activists. Monica Cannon Grant is one that's here with us, another community activist. Their message has changed. Their message has changed our country and our city for the better. And we must continue to listen to the voices in the Black community and work together for positive change. In Boston, we have made progress on each of these fundamental issues and vital needs. Now we have to activate conversations and get these concrete proposals before us, accelerate the pace of change, and goes much further. We need to continue to work on police reform, affordable housing, closing achievement gaps in our schools. We can win these victories and show this nation a way forward. And that's because in Boston we share the same values. We operate with one moral compass that guides us. We believe in ending racism and creating opportunity and equality for all of our residents in the city. We may be a divided nation, but we're not a divided city. That's why we cannot and we must not fall prey to the political division that stifles action. The new chapter is just beginning, but the opportunity for progress is greater than it's been in a long, long, long time. So this is our call to come together as one and seize this moment. Let's not miss the opportunity. Let's be ready to achieve great things. Let's lead first by showing what unity means. It means acknowledging, confronting, and ending the hard realities of inequality and racism. It means listening to each other and seeing each other and embracing all the richness of our diversity. It means trusting each other enough to put progress ahead of personalities, to put people we serve ahead of any politics that could divide us. As we prepare to partner with the new administration in Washington, let's do that work in Boston. Let's come together and lead the way forward. Let's be the Boston we believe in, and let's help build America, the America that we believe in that's possible. I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here today. We're going to hear now from the President of the Boston City Council, President Kim Janey.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. I want to start by thanking Mayor Walsh for bringing us together this morning, and what a good morning it is. As president of the most diverse city council in Boston's history, I am thrilled to be here along with my colleagues, Councilor Baker, Councilor Bach, Councilor Braden, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Anissa Asabi-George, Councilor Mejia, and Councilor O'Malley. I'm also proud to be here with our colleagues in state government, along with our DA and our sheriff, and of course our mayor. We are all here this morning. We are all here together to join President-elect Biden, and I need to say that again, President-elect Biden. Yes. We are here to join our president, our new president, in his call for unity, to bring our country together. But how do we do that? We start locally, and the residents of our great city have already been stepping up, whether caring for community in response to COVID, or protesting in the streets and demanding justice, or showing up at the polls and saving our democracy. Boston makes me proud. Thank you for making your voices heard and participating in our electoral process. I want to echo all the thanks that the mayor has given to our poll workers and all the volunteers, and certainly the candidates who are on the ballot. Many of them are standing behind me. We had record turnout in the city of Boston, and we should all be proud of that. I was especially proud as I watched the victory speeches last night. And I watched with my 6-year-old granddaughter, Rosie. I watched with Rosie. And together, we watched as Vice President-elect Kamala Harris made history, becoming the first black vice president, the first vice president of Asian descent, and the first woman to be elected in the history of the United States of America. I got teary-eyed. As I sat with my granddaughter and thought about all the little girls all over the country watching history unfold right before their eyes. And as our VP-elect said last night, every little girl watching sees that this is a country of possibilities. Yes, that is the true promise of America. We say we're a nation where achieving your dreams is possible, regardless of race, religion, zip code, or immigration status, and regardless of how much money you have or who you love. That's who we say we are. And that's what I'm fighting to make real. And I stand here with my colleagues in government calling for unity. But as I have said from the beginning of the COVID pandemic, there is no going back to normal. We refuse to go back. Our only option is to go better. This call for unity can only be realized when we work toward true freedom and justice for all, including those who have historically have been left out of the American dream. In Boston, that means tackling the enormous wealth gap between white households and black households. It means addressing the 30-year life expectancy gap in my district from Symphony Hall to Grove Hall. It means developing an equitable way for students to access quality education, including our exam schools. It means fighting against displacement and providing safe, affordable housing. It means having streets and playgrounds free from violence. It means humanely addressing the opioid epidemic in our city. It means taking action to address climate change to save our planet. And it means having the courage to rethink public safety and criminal justice reform. To heal the soul of our nation, as President-elect Biden says, means going beyond restoring relationships between Democrats and Republicans. This is much deeper than party politics. This problem is bigger than any one individual, and it precedes the current administration. Healing the soul of our nation and achieving unity means we have to be vigilant in dismantling structural racism, as our mayor has said. This country cannot solve systemic racism in one election cycle. There's no magic pill. There's no quick fix. And when I say we, I mean all of us standing here, I mean everyone watching, we have to do the work. We as colleagues in government, we as a city, we as a community must stay focused on equity and inclusion in the city of Boston and dismantling systemic racism. We must continue to put forth an agenda that creates real opportunity for all, for everyone, not just a select few. That's how we achieve unity. We work for it. We must continue this fight for freedom and justice for all. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask State Representative China Tyler, representing the Boston delegation.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm State Representative China Tyler, and I represent Potter, Roxbury, Dorchester, Fenway, and the South End on Beacon Hill at the Massachusetts State House. And I'm here honored to be speaking on behalf of the Boston delegation as the chair. And I'm here in company of some of my delegation members, Representative Beal, Representative Miranda, Representative Honan, Representative Livingstone, Representative Ryan. Senator Collins is here. Senator Brownsberger is here, and I also see Senator DiDomenico here, and also our newest member, Representative Rob Consalvo. Congratulations and welcome. And so I just wanted to give some really quick remarks and just really underscore the point that we are up against so much. And the reality of it is that a lot of us are on very, very different ends on some very controversial issue topics. However, the reality of it is that every day, whether that be in Congress, on Beacon Hill at the State House, or here in City Hall, we have the ability to change what the future looks like, especially for our children. But we cannot do that without our community. So we encourage you to reach out to us because it starts with you. I know a lot of folks are watching and probably wondering, hey, how can I get involved in changing the future? Reach out to us, say hey to us when you see us in the community because, again, the hardest questions get addressed and get solved when we work in it together. So, again, thank you so much to Mayor Walsh for having this. I really appreciate you making sure that we working on progress together as a city of one. And I look forward to working alongside you and all of my delegation members out on Beacon Hill at the State House. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And now I'd like to ask District Attorney Rawlings to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. Last night, like President Janey, I looked at that stage and I saw myself. And as a 49-year-old woman, it was the first time I really felt like I did. But so many others did as well. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, immigrant or a survivor, this administration, I hope, is going to be inclusive. What I ask the people of Boston and Suffolk County is, think of how quick we are to complain. When something goes wrong, you will write a complaint in a heartbeat, won't you? But when you see excellent service, do you stop and say thank you? Do you stop and fill out something so that that person's supervisor sees that they're doing a good job? I challenge us to, yes, we have to complain and hold people accountable, whether they are Democrats or Republicans, but I also encourage us to commend. And I try as hard as I can. Recently, I was called by the media about an incident that occurred in Chelsea, where individuals were using fake Department of Homeland Security letterhead to terrorize immigrants. It said notice of removal, and that they would be leaving those at people's houses in Chelsea. Of course, that's reprehensible. Of course, I'm going to say that's terrible. But what I also said is thank you, Chief Kais in Chelsea, for putting this on social media and protecting the people of Chelsea. Thank you, Chief Delahanty in Winthrop, for letting me know immediately about a racist act that happened there and asking my office to do an independent study to make sure that they got it right, an oversight. Thank you, Colonel Mason and the state police, for immediately terminating an off-duty state trooper who used racial slurs in Revere. Thank you, Commissioner Gross, for immediately terminating and having that upheld a Boston police officer who used racial slurs against children at Roxbury Prep School just last year. These men, and there will soon be women in these roles too, I promise you one day, but these men stood up and did what was right. They didn't ask for the media to commend them, they just did what was right. And I will work hard to make sure that I'm saying the great things that Chief Kais in Revere, Colonel Mason in the state police, Commissioner Gross in Boston, Chief Green in the transit police, Chief Delahanty in Winthrop, and Chief Callahan in Revere. When they do great things, we will be speaking those. Because last night we had a triple shooting in Boston. We have much more work to do, and we are far more unified. Nobody cares whether you're Republican and independent or whether you were born here when a gun is going off in your neighborhood. So I want to encourage good sportsmanship. As the mother of a 16-year-old exceptional athlete, whether you win, you don't icky shuffle and, like gloat. You shake the person's hand, but when you lose, you do the same. But today we celebrate for sure, and then all of us together unified get back to work to making Boston exceptional and Suffolk County exceptional. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, District Attorney. And now I'd like to hear from the Treasurer of the Commonwealth, Treasurer Deb Goldberg.
Thank you, Mayor Walsh. Thank you to all of the electeds here behind me from Boston, the ones that represent up on Beacon Hill. It is a true honor to be here on behalf of the statewide elected officials to say it's a new dawn. It's a new beginning. A dark cloud had descended upon our country. We here in Massachusetts did everything we could do to help people, to support people, but it was infringing upon us. The DA referenced Homeland Security. Well, ISIS was knocking at our door. And even though we all did everything we could do, we knew that we needed change. Yesterday morning at 11:30 a.m., I couldn't wait to call my ill, bedridden, 90-year-old father, who all week long said, "Can I live to see this election be over? Can Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win? How am I going to live to see that day?" I couldn't wait to call him on FaceTime. And for the first time in weeks, he danced in his chair. And he stood up last night and he watched Joe Biden and he watched Kamala Harris. And he said it is a new day, it is a new beginning, and it is even for him. So that is what we are responsible for. We need to seize the moment. You've heard your Boston people say the very same. And I pledge to you, as one of your statewide elected officials, who also represents all the treasurers of the nation, that we are unified in creating opportunity for everyone. No one can be left behind. And as Joe and Kamala say, they are here to govern for everyone. Well, so am I, and I look forward to all the possibilities that we can do together. Thank you.
And now our last speaker is going to be Sheriff Steve Tompkins, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I'd like to say that this fabric that the mayor has called out together today of different races, of different genders, of different cultural backgrounds, speaks to the definition of what unity is all about. As others have, I'd like to extend my congratulations to President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Harris, and I'd also like to thank Mr. Trump for being involved with a campaign that brought out over 144 million of our citizens to engage in the civic process. Democracy, in my estimation, is built on civic engagement. That's how countries move forward, when their citizens have a say in how that government is going to comport itself. It's crucially important. After 8 years of President Obama, the country was lulled into this kumbaya moment where we thought that everything was going to be okay. So we almost had to have the administration that followed President Obama come forth to show us the deep, deep divisions within this country and the issues that we desperately need to work on. This is crucially important. And so going forward, know this, particularly as it pertains to public safety and criminal justice. People have said to me on a number of occasions that the justice system, that the penal system is broken. I push back and say that it's not broken. It was built in certain respects to be punitive, to stand on the necks of people that don't have the wherewithal to fight back. We can no longer, as a nation, tolerate that. And I do believe sincerely that this new administration is going to address a lot of societal ills. We as a people, though, have to be engaged with this administration. Our voices have to be heard. As City Council President Janey referenced, the American dream, that ideal that says each citizen should have the opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work and determination. That does not mean that the affluent in this country are the only ones that get to realize the American dream. That does not mean that one race gets to realize the American dream. The ideal of the American dream is that it's for all of us, for all of us, for over the 300 million citizens of the United States. We can no longer jail as many of our black and brown and female citizens as we do. We are losing families when that happens. We are losing communities when that happens. And we are losing intellectual prowess when that happens. If we are the leaders of the free world, then it's time that we really embrace that mantle, to take that position back, to understand that it's okay to cross the aisle and shake hands with different people with different views. We need to understand that compromise is not a bad word. That's how things get done. We are not all going to get everything that we want, but we need to understand that we need to get what we need to be a strong, vibrant, forward-thinking country that is the leaders of this globe. And that work on the part of the citizens is the rent that we pay to be on the globe. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. And I think that we all heard today that there's lots of work to do here in our city. There's lots of work here to do in our state and certainly in our country. And everyone, I think, here is very excited about to work with the new administration in Washington, D.C. To help us continue to move forward. But also, we will hold them accountable, just like the residents of Boston will hold us accountable. So I want to thank you. Before I take any questions, I just want to introduce a few other folks that are here. City Councilor Ed Flynn, City Councilor Julia Mejia, City Councilor Anisha Sabi George, City Councilor Frank Baker, City Councilor Liz Braden, City Councilor Matt O'Malley, City Councilor Kenzie Block, who was out in Weston, Pennsylvania last week, so I'm giving her the credit for the victory. I want to thank you for the great work out there. We also have the Registrar of Suffolk County, Steve Murphy, Clerk of Suffolk County, Maura Hennigan. I want to thank, I think we got did I get everybody? We got everybody? I want to make sure. I just want to thank everyone. Danny was gone. The one thing that Steve said it, the sheriff said it, we all said it. Look at us. This is Boston. This is Boston. We have a diverse city council. We have a diverse state delegation at the State House. We have diversity in our constitutional offices. We have diversity all throughout our city. This is who we are as a city. I want to thank everyone for being here today. And any questions, if you have any questions for any of us, I don't know.
People reached out to us after seeing videos of the celebrations last night, and some people are worried they don't want these to turn into super spreader events. They're wondering, will you all be enforcing the new mask mandate and the curfew as the days go forward?
Yeah, so the question is just for folks that are listening. The question is, people worried about the celebrations we had last night of being super spreader events. We have to find something always with an event, something that's negative about it. I think most people yesterday were wearing masks, and we're asking people, if you come out today, I know many of the organizers of the different events, even when we were having, the marches and the rallies, and we work with the organizers to encourage people to have masks on. So we're going to be asking people to wear masks. Yesterday, as I looked on the picture across America, I saw almost every single person out there celebrating with a mask on, all across in D.C. and in Philadelphia and out in the West Coast and L.A. and other places. So we're asking people, if you're coming in today or if you're going to be celebrating, even if you're celebrating at your house, we're asking, be careful. The virus is still very much here. We're seeing, as we've seen in the last 6 weeks here, we've seen an increase in the virus. We want to get that number down. And right now, the way to do it is by wearing a mask. Thank you. Any other questions?
A lot of speculation that maybe you'll be tapped for a position in this new administration. Any comment on that?
No, there's a lot of speculation about a lot of things. There's a lot of people being tapped. He can't take everyone from Massachusetts to Washington with him. I think there's a lot there. So I'm just looking forward to working with this administration, as everyone here is. As I said in the very beginning, my first 3 years as mayor, I was down to the White House a lot, meeting on issues of police reform. Back after Ferguson happened, meeting on issues of housing and climate resiliency, things like that. I'm just looking forward to getting back to conversations with an administration that actually believes in science, whether it's combating the coronavirus or that sea level rise is real. I'm looking forward to working in an administration that understands that our country's divided and we need to pull our country back together. I'm excited about working with that administration, so that's what I'm excited about right now. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you. Have a great day.